Welcome to episode 105 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. I am Stephen Rothberg with College Recruiter, one of your two co-hosts, and happy to be here today with two of probably the most data-driven people that I've ever met. Jeanette Leeds, my co-host. Good to see you, Jeanette.
Good to see you too. Hi, everyone. Jeanette Leeds. I'm the CEO of College Recruiter, HR Tech Advisor, and I'm really excited about today's episode because we're talking about data, and I love this. So today we have Alex Shabanov. He is a technical recruiter. Okay, so I love today, especially because we have a practitioner in the house. Someone who's actually doing it. So over 2 decades or nearly 2 decades of experience across startups. Let me, if I get this right, startups, corporates, various countries, and he's all about optimizing the recruiting process, leveraging automation. And so, Alex, welcome. So thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say we found you. I feel like because you had this great article written on Medium about the optimal stopping theory, which I never can see the QR code here. So maybe before we get into that, because that's really the meat of today's topic, maybe just like give us like a quick background or like how you got into the idea of this theory, and then we can talk about like what this theory is. But just for our listeners, because obviously I introed you, but like anything extra you want to add before we get into like what is this theory?
Okay, maybe I can tell you about how I realized that high volume recruiting is a big problem. So how I faced it
Yes.
first time, because it was like I worked for 12 years in Russia, in city like 1,000 kilometers from Moscow. So it was a very small labor market, and uh, so like I was, as I said, I was working for 12 years, and then I moved to Israel, and I just realized like you need to process so many candidates, okay, so many applications, so it's just crazy, okay, and the most common approaches of it's like just running without really moving anywhere, so it's like full gas and neutral. It is very common expression here, okay. And I realized it didn't work, and I basically kind of was shocked by what's going on, and then maybe it was the first time when I started to think that something we need to change something. Okay, I started automating all kind of things, and optimal stopping theory. It's just one of the approaches. It was posted as a joke, maybe. Okay, but let's say that to be honest, maybe it is a joke. It's like theoretical solution for the theoretical problem. The reality is more complex, but this approach actually can work better than many approaches that I've seen in reality.
I love that. I love that. Well, and it's so funny because so many people who haven't been in sort of a high volume arena, they step into it like you have, and it's sort of like, whoa, like what is going on here? So that like completely resonates. I feel like I'm just going ahead with second question. I feel like I never do this, but like, so tell us or tell our listeners, like, what is this optimal stopping theory? Like, I know it's super geeky, but like, what is that? Because I feel like I'm sort of back in class and like, is it science class? Is data
Yes.
statistics class? Yeah. Walk us through it.
Okay, so in general, this is kind of the problem of of choosing a moment when you make a decision to stop or to continue. Okay, like this is about it, and when we are talking about the candidates and screening the candidates and interviewing the candidates, so we need to make a decision at some point. Should we continue to interview candidates or should we stop? And there's like a math problem like that, and it is called a secretary problem. This is like an example, but I also like more an example like a princess problem, that when princess tries to find a fiance, like a future prince,
Yeah.
okay, and the conditions of the problem are like that. So she has a bunch of the candidates, so they know what is the number of the candidates. She can meet everyone only one time, and she needs to make a decision, like at this moment, like to get married or
Or keep going,
what?
keep meeting more.
Yes. So,
I
so
I
yes,
did not realize that we were in a Disney movie. I was
Right,
sure this was a
right.
recruiting podcast, but I love the analogy.
yes, yes. So and basically, so and mathematicians basically they try to find like an optimal like algorithm to find the best candidate. Okay, given that she if she meets all the candidate, it means that she eventually is has to go with the last one, and this last one is not necessarily the best one. Okay, so how can you find given this condition? So and they came up with like the math solution that she needs to meet the bunch of the candidates. So basically, the ideal solution looks like that. She needs to take the entire number of all the candidates, divide it by the base of the natural logarithm, which is about 2.7, something like that. Okay, needs to meet this number of candidates. So it's about 37% of like the entire population. Okay, and then she needs to set. It helps her to set a benchmark, like who is the best out of them, and then she needs to continue meeting other candidates, and when she meets the first one who is the better than the benchmark, she needs to get married this candidate. So this is how it is supposed to work. So I kind of applied it to our reality, okay, and I also like kind of googled about it a little bit, researched a little bit, and realized, okay, we like 37% is can be huge. Like when we have 1,000 candidates, we need to interview like 370 people. Okay, so but we don't always need a perfect candidate. We need a good enough, like qualified candidate a little bit. So we can go like we can take a square root of the entire number. We can rely on the historical data that we have based on our previous experience of recruitment, and can say, okay, if we have on the average 1,000 applicants, so we can go like with 30 interviews, set the benchmark, continue interviewing, and then hire the first who is the better than the benchmark that we set.
So that's really fascinating, and for those who are just listening to the audio only version, I'll put into the show notes a link to the Medium article. The formula's in there. If you got through high school math, you're going to be able to handle it.
It's not scary.
Yeah. And for those watching the video version, open your eyes. I've shown the QR code a couple times. So don't close your eyes in fear. So Alex, one of the things that really, when I read it and was looking at this and invited you to come on, I thought that you've taken this kind of when do we stop receiving applications? When should we cut that off? To a whole other level, but not one that's super complicated to implement. And it's part of what I really love. Like, it's not going to take hours of TA time to figure this out. It's seconds. And the approach I thought is even better than some of the ones I've seen. Standard approach is post a job, let it run for 30 days, get 2,000 applications and complain, right? That's not a good,
10,000.
yeah, that's just not a good approach. A better approach that I've seen and I've been advocating for is if you know that if you receive 100 applications to that particular role, you are always going to be able to hire somebody from that group, then stop receiving applications at 100. Your approach is even, I would say, more aggressive than that. You may not even need 100. You may need 50. And so I think for a few seconds of math, the employers don't have to receive as many applications. They don't have to interview as many people. And I think most importantly, they can get to the hire faster. And that's what I loved about it. Talk with me about about, is this only applicable for high volume, like for organizations that are hiring dozens, hundreds into the same role? Is this also applicable for organizations that are just looking to hire one or two people into a role? Who does this Who can make good use of this?
I think when it's not high volume, okay, like you have a capacity to interview basically people, because high volume recruitment problem like arises when you don't have enough capacity to meet everyone.
True.
Okay, so like the real problem is a little bit different from the theoretical problem, because the theoretical problem, as I already mentioned, like the princess basically meets every candidate one time, and she can't kind of postpone the decision. Okay, she
Right.
can't like say, okay, I will like review all the candidates and then I will get back to you. There is no. So in real life, you can do something like that. Okay, so it's the real life is
in this labor market, but 3 years
in
ago
this
you
level.
could not.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, yes, you are right. You are correct. 3 years ago it was different. You are correct. But what I was trying to say, so like the reality is a little bit different anyway, which means, so I lost my.
So can the optimal stopping theory, is that useful just for employers who are hiring a lot of people, or can it also be used for employers that are
Yes,
maybe only hiring a couple?
In my view, like high volume recruitment problem looks a little bit different. It's not just about hiring a lot of people. Okay, I think that historically this was the problem. Okay, like hiring a lot of people in a short time. I think today, at least in the area I work in like the high tech, the high volume recruitment basically means kind of necessity of processing a lot of application to make only one hire.
Right.
So it's like that. Okay, and it leads us like to this limited capacity. We can't. This is also one of the elements of the problem. We can't meet everyone. We can't interview everyone. And another element of problem, at least in my reality, also, it's the small share proportion of qualified candidates. So this is high volume of applications. Small share of qualified candidates and limited capacity. Okay, so when you have these three elements, you have this problem, but like you need to look for other approaches. You need kind of to narrow down maybe the list of the candidates that you meet, and this is one of the approaches. Okay, so you can kind of yes, it is very aggressive. And I never applied it in reality, yes, but I think it can work better in these conditions.
I love that. I love that. I mean, and it's such a good point because, high volume, a lot of people just assume it's like, okay, I have to hire a ton of candidates, right? But sometimes it's just, you said it, like a high volume of applicants to hire maybe one or two, right? So it's just, how do you handle this volume and what are some of the approaches versus, small number of applicants for one job? So there's so many different ways to think about it. I think maybe, I don't know, I'm looking at the time, maybe this is one last question, but you'd mentioned some other approaches, right? Aside from the optimal stopping theory, which I actually sort of love. Like, what other approaches are you using or do you recommend to, again, either other practitioners who are listening or organizations where it's like, ooh, I either have this high volume of applicant flow or I have to hire a ton of people, right? Which might not be life for long.
Actually, regarding approaches, I don't know, but you need to realize like really these elements of the problem. Okay, I recently also built kind of dashboard to simulate kind of conversion and moving through the pipeline. And what I used kind of also math, like probability theory. So kind of I set the data like number of applications, percentage of qualified candidates, also true positive, like accuracy of our screening, of resume screening, accuracy of interviewing, and so on. And when you put it all together, you can really see how our capacity limits can impact our accuracy, can impact the total numbers of the hires that we are able to do. So you need just to take all these numbers together and like really can simulate the process and realize, okay, basically you need to balance your false positive or false negative mistakes. So you need to move your kind of bar, okay, of screening and resumes and maybe interviewing bar, to realize like how this mistakes, number of these mistakes can impact your ability to process as many relevant candidates as you can.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining us, sharing this. Again, in the show notes, there'll be a link to the article, the formula, et cetera, is there. And I just think this is great because it's a perfect example of where if we spend a little bit more time upfront, we're going to save a massive amount of time later. And then also, we don't have to waste the time of dozens, hundreds, thousands of candidates, and be able to get that right person started tomorrow rather than 3 months from now. So, way to go.
Exactly. And for everyone listening, it's like math is applicable in all different jobs, right? Like that's so
And
key.
it can be very simple math,
Right.
like
Simple
it's
math,
not something that, yes.
It's like what you're learning in high school, right? It's like helps you like throughout, and you can really think about different ways to use, all the different skills we had. So this was awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for
Until
having
next
me.
time.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone.